Hi all. So sorry that I can't be with you for this PIR. Really would love to. But thanks for taking the time to participate in this presentation. I've titled it UDL and differentiation because UDL is a framework for designing curriculum that I think we could use for building on what we have that is so good at Bissell School. Differentiation, because I know you're going to spend the rest of the day sharing ideas and for meeting those unique needs of our students. I hope that somebody takes notes and shares those with me when I come back. So first I want to mention the video that I sent to you. I sure hope that you had the opportunity to watch it. But if the majority of you didn't, you might want to stop the presentation and watch the video. It certainly does set the tone for the day. So here are two pictures. What do you notice? Take a minute and jot down some impressions. Okay, so now let's pause the presentation. I'd like to see you get in groups of 3 and share what you noticed. And what do you think the pictures represent? Are you surprised? Did you guess these words represented the pictures? I used to think that being fair was giving everybody the same thing, but clearly fair doesn't mean equal. Equity in education means giving students what they need so that all students have the same opportunities. Okay, so here's the big picture. So if equity is our overarching goal, then this image is a good image or a good representation of where UDL and where differentiated instruction fit into the scheme of things. So what is UDL? So here's a short video that will give you some background information.
This teacher needs to meet a curriculum goal, and she's got a very diverse group of students. And so does this teacher. And this one. Most do. In fact, research shows that the way people learn is as unique as their fingerprints. What does this mean for teachers of today? Classrooms are highly diverse, and curriculum needs to be designed from the start to meet this diversity. Universal design for learning is an approach to curriculum that minimizes barriers and maximizes learning for all students. Whoa, that's a fancy term. Universal design for learning. Let's unpack it a bit. Let's think about the word universal. By universal, we mean curriculum that can be used and understood by everyone. Each learner in the classroom brings her own background, strengths, needs, and interests. Curriculum should provide genuine learning opportunities for each and every student. Now let's think about the word learning. Learning is not one thing. Neuroscience tells us that our brains have 3 broad networks. One for recognition, the what of learning, one for skills and strategies, the how of learning, and one for caring and prioritizing, the why of learning. Students need to gain knowledge, skills, and enthusiasm for learning, and a curriculum needs to help them do all 3. But every learner is unique, and one size does not fit all. So how do we make a curriculum that challenges and engages diverse learners? This is where the word design comes in. A universally designed building is planned to be flexible and to accommodate all kinds of users, with and without disabilities. It turns out that if you design for those in the margins, your building works better for everyone. Curb cuts and ramps are used by people in wheelchairs, people with strollers, and people on bikes. Captioning on TV serves people who are deaf, people learning English, people in gyms, and spouses who get to sleep at different times. UDL takes this idea and applies it to the design of flexible curriculum. UDL goes beyond access because we need to build in support and challenge. So how do we use the UDL framework to make learning goals, methods, materials, and assessments that work for everyone? First, ask yourself, what is my goal? What do I want my students to know, do, and care about? Then ask, what barriers in the classroom might interfere with my diverse students reaching these goals? To eliminate the barriers, use the 3 UDL principles to create flexible paths to learning so that each student can progress. Number 1, provide multiple means of representation. Present content and information in multiple media and provide varied supports. Use graphics and animation, highlight the critical features, activate background knowledge, and support vocabulary so that students can acquire the knowledge being taught. Number 2, provide multiple means of action and expression. Give students plenty of options for expressing what they know and provide models, feedback, and supports for their different levels of proficiency. Number 3, provide multiple means of engagement. What fires up one student won't fire up another. Give students choices to fuel their interests and autonomy. Help them risk mistakes and learn from them. If they love learning, they will persist through challenges. And remember, always keep in mind the learning goal. Get rid of barriers caused by the curriculum and keep the challenge where it belongs. And that's it. Okay, quick recap. Show the information in different ways. Allow your students to approach learning tasks and demonstrate what they know in different ways, and offer options that engage students and keep their interest. Universal design for learning equals learning opportunities for all. For more information on UDL, go to www.cast.org.
Okay, so first step in using the UDL framework is to have a goal. Now, a goal is not the same as a standard, so take a minute to read about the goals, or better yet, you might want to pause the presentation, the video, and have someone read it out loud. So in your handout, you'll notice there's a UDL lesson that I wrote on how much is a million, and it has a learning goal there, and I wanted to highlight that and point it out. The learning goal in this lesson is students will understand 1 million. All right, next, it's important to think about assessment. So from a UDL perspective, effective assessments are ongoing and focused on learner progress, measure both product and process, are flexible, not fixed, are construct relevant. And construct relevant refers to those factors that are directly related to that goal the assessment is intended to measure. So for example, if your goal is to find out if a student understands a reading passage and you measure it by asking that student to write, that would be considered construct irrelevant because their understanding might be hindered by their inability to write. So here's an example from my million lesson that you have a copy of, and notice that I planned for a formative assessment, an official formative assessment. We always walk around and formatively assess on the fly, but it's always also a good idea to do a formative assessment in a planned one. You need to have methods for achieving your goal. And if you'll look at that handout with the brains across the top, it says Universal Design for Learning across the top. You'll see that the UDL designers chose these 3 networks as important for learning. And so when you're planning a lesson, these 3 networks are the ones that you need to take into consideration. So let's look at each of them individually. So let's look at the effective network first. So if you're planning a lesson, the things that you need to consider, for reaching the effective networks is your choice of content and tools, offering adjustable levels of challenge, offering choices of rewards, and offering choices of learning context. Because those are the things that are going to stimulate the interest and motivation in your students for learning. Also, you need to support the recognition networks. And the way that you do that is to provide multiple examples, highlight critical features, provide multiple media and formats, and support background context. And in this way, you're going to present your information in many different ways. Then there's the strategic networks, providing flexible models of skilled performance, providing opportunities to practice with supports, and provide ongoing relevant feedback, offer flexible opportunities for demonstrating skills, and here is where you're going to be differentiating the ways that the students can actually show you how they know. So, one of the most useful aspects that at least I've found of the framework is that educator checklist, and you have a copy of it in your handouts. It shows my How Much is a Million checklist, and that was my analysis after I wrote the lesson. I went back through and filled this out. And if you want to take a minute to look at what I wrote in the checklist. So as I was completing this checklist, I noticed places that I could simply increase the accessibility of the lesson. For example, in 1.1 up there, where I wrote display questions on the smartboard, that wasn't part of my original lesson, but as I thought about it, I thought that would certainly help many of the students. Also, another thing I want to point out is that not every blank is filled out, and that's okay. Also, if you get this in digital format, you could click on any one of those, and it would link you to information and suggestions for each of those. Okay, so here's a chance for you as a group to do some brainstorming. I'd like you to pause the presentation and brainstorm the kinds of materials we would need to meet the diverse needs of our students. Think about more than just digital or technology, but just all the different materials that would be useful for helping us meet those needs. Now, if you are interested in some digital resources, you could look at this site also. It's the udlresource.com, and that does give you some digital resources. So spend a few minutes brainstorming together these materials. So if you're interested in more information about Universal Design for Learning, I have a hard copy of this. This is actually a textbook, and I do have a copy that you can borrow, but you can also get it on that website. It's a free digital copy, and within that digital copy there are videos that you can click on to learn more about the practice and the theory behind Universal Design for Learning. So this summer I attended the NCSM Leadership Academy in Billings. And a group of teachers from Chicago came up with a vision statement that I loved, so I borrowed it. It reminded me that our students are like flowers, unique and different. It said, flourish together as learners. And they even put a definition of flourish as grow or develop in a healthy or vigorous way, especially as the result of a particularly favorable environment. And this next year, I certainly want my students to flourish. So this presentation, as well as all the handouts and the links, are going to be posted on my blog. So thanks for participating and learning today. I hope you have a great rest of the day.